So with a new manager coming in, there's lots of talk that we've got a huge amount of money to spend, but what is the point, JB, when we've got players like James Wilson and Tom Lawrence ready and waiting at tender ages with huge careers in front of them of wasting that money on players like Cavani?
I definitely take your point, Sam. But I do think we need reinforcements in the shape of like a Hummels or like a midfielder like oh God knows Gundogan or Khedira from Real Madrid. But yeah, I mean in terms of the squad players, I mean why not get a new battalion, if you will, of like Busby Babes coming through. You mentioned those guys there. There's also Joe Rothwell in midfield, Saidi Yanka to the right hand flank, and Guillermo Varela. I think it's going to be a really good right back. Just turned 21, so he's coming of age. But yeah, completely.
So Lingard and Zaha on the outside of the club.
Yes, indeed.
Jay, how do you feel about that?
Yeah,
do you think we should be buying big names?
I think we do need to strengthen. I mean, it was a great debut last night from James Wilson and Lawrence as well. They both played really well. But I'm a little bit loath to get carried away with some youngsters. Everyone always thinks about the class of '92, but I'm old enough to remember the likes of Simon Davies, the John O'Kanes, the Teddy Cooks, even the Kiko Makedas.
Even
we all thought, these are going to be, future stars, and it doesn't always work out like that. I think right now, yes, give youth a chance. Yes, I'd like to see the likes of Wilson and obviously Januzaj and players like given a chance. But I do think we need one or two big signings because it's obvious that we're really lacking, especially in midfield.
Carl, what do you think?
I think Van Gaal would be the man definitely to do that, to integrate the new and the old, and to bring new people in, and to bring like Wilfried Zaha out from the cold, which he has been. In Cardiff. I'd love to see him back. I was really excited when we signed him. Good young talent. I think he'll mesh in with new signings and old signings. I think he'll do that quite well, Van Gaal.
Jay, do you think we should be playing these young players against Southampton?
Well, I don't know, because I think there's a few players as well who they're coming up to a World Cup. One won't be missing the last couple of games of the season. I think, you look at some of the players like maybe Welbeck or maybe... I know people won't like me saying this, but maybe like Cleverly Young, who might have the outside shot of making the planes to Brazil. So if they're not being picked for the last couple of games, he might not be happy. And I don't really think they need to. James Wilson's come in. He's had a brilliant debut. Let him go out on a high, if you will, and give some of the other players a chance. And also as well, I think Southampton isn't an easy. It's not Hull at home, because Hull rested a lot of players as well because they've got the FA Cup final coming up. So they weren't at the strongest. Southampton away is a tricky game. It is a tough. It's a game. It's a ground we've sort of had to grind out results in the past. So I don't really think it's a good idea throwing in a load of youngsters that could get their asses handed to them.
Okay. In a move as controversial as Ryan Giggs giving two young players their debuts, we have moved teams to point 2. I know. I'll let that sink in. Jay, what team would you play against Southampton?
I'm going for like a nice blend.
Did say Jay.
Yeah.
I thought I said J, and then it cut out and went B.
No, just didn't say the B. Just said J.
If JB wants to go first, I can wait. I'm a patient guy. There's no rush. You know what I mean? You go first, JB, and then I'll pick up in your team.
Hey, Carl, why don't you go first?
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Shut them both up.
Cheers. I'm going with David De Gea in net. I'm Valencia right back. Vidic, Rio, Evra. I think Rio and Evra will be put back in. We need that solidity at the back, especially at Southampton. As you've just said, Southampton's not an easy game. It's not a Hull at home. But I would still go with Januzaj, Carrick, Fletcher, and then I'd give Lawrence another go. I'd like to see a little bit more of him out on the wing. Mata, I'd like Mata to be reintroduced, especially with his World Cup hopes in mind. And then RVP up front. He finished the game really well the other night.
Okay, Jay, what about you?
Yeah, I'd go with a pretty similar team. I wouldn't play Rio. I'd play Smalling alongside Vidic. I'd put Evra in there, obviously. De Gea. I'm up for Valencia at right backs, I think, but especially with the injuries we've got. I'd probably go Carrick, and I know it's not going to be too popular, but Carrick and Cleverly as a sort of 2 holding midfielders. Then I'd have a 3 of I'd have Welbeck in the middle of a 3, Mata, and I'd probably, because he's on his way out, I'd probably give Nani another game. I know people say, he doesn't deserve it, but I think he's it may well be his last chance saloon, so I'll just give him a game. And I'd have RVP up top as well, because he's got a good record against Southampton, and I think again it's not the easiest of games, and we don't want to go out on a defeat.
No. Nani scored his penalty in Moscow. He deserves a goodbye. JB, what would you do?
Yeah, I would go against the grain a little bit, and I'm not seeing this as a testimonial, but almost like something where you can experiment or be a bit romantic. I was going to go with Ben Amos in his sticks, because he's 24 now. I think we need to see how he does against Premier League opposition. A lot of people think he doesn't have a future at the club. I just want to see how I would contend against the likes of Lambert and Lallana. Varela, who I've mentioned already, at right back. Vidic, Rio, Evra, because God knows what's going to happen to any of them in the summer. Joe Rothwell in midfield, just in the spirit of trying things in the Giggs way. We've seen a glimpse of the future the other night. Want to see it again. Ryan Giggs himself is the other central midfielder. Then Yanasai, Kagawa wide, Mata in the hole, RVP up top for the same reasons that Jay said. It'd be nice to also give him a really nice, fond scoring farewell for him to go away to the World Cup and come back nice and positive. So that's another reason.
Jay, no Ferdinand against Hull. Do we think that means he's staying next year?
Well, apparently there was some sort of deal or something that it was going to be his last game against Sunderland because one of his kids' mascots or something, his last home game. So I don't look too much into that. I think decisions have still got to be made. No one knows who I know everyone knows them. Sorry, start again. I know everyone knows the manager's going to be Louis van Gaal, but he's not come in yet. So I think people may wait until he does, until they make a decision. And I think Ferdinand may be one of them where he wants to sit down with the manager and say, listen, are you going to give me another 12-month contract? Am I going to be part of your plans or should I just move on? So I don't think we can look too much into it at the moment. We've got to wait until the new boss comes in and starts setting his stall out.
What would you like to happen with Rio?
I'd like Rio to stay. I think for all his nonsense on Twitter and some of this, the sort of the shenanigans he gets up to, he sort of gets United. He's one of those players that gets what he's to play for United. He
Carl, where do you stand? Sorry, Jay.
No, it's all right. Cut me off. I don't mind.
I didn't mean to. I thought you'd finished.
No, I completely agree. I think a lot of players are scared of making the first move. I think a lot of people are at United at the moment. Everyone wants to wait for Van Gaal to come in and wait for it to settle. Maybe Rio wouldn't get on with Van Gaal. Maybe Van Gaal wants to bring his own centre back in. Maybe wants to bring his own men in, and he sees Rio as too old and Evra as too old. You'll just have to see. I reckon as well, just to go back to the Southampton game, you could also look at it as a bit of a scouting mission as well, just to run the rule over Lallana and Luke Shaw potentially.
Okay. Sorry, Jay, I cut you off. I didn't mean to. What were you going to say?
No, it's all right. I was finished. I was just going to say, Rio seems quite a popular figure amongst the players as well, which could help. There's a new transition, sort of some experienced heads who, have the sort of the ears of the younger players in the dressing room. It could be useful to keep him around. Yeah,
Rio's so important. Whenever anybody scores a goal, he'll sprint 80 yards to go and celebrate with everyone together. Whether that's his ego and he wants to be centre of attention, or,
he likes to be in the pictures.
Be that, yeah, might be that.
JB, Southampton. What have we got to worry about?
They have very much little to play for. We've won the race for 7th place. Huzzah! So, yeah, I know. And they've got
in your face.
say that. I don't know. Jay Rodriguez, his form has dropped. Adam Lallana's pretty good. It'd be good to see him.
I think Rodriguez is injured actually.
Yeah, he is.
He's missing the plane to Brazil, and he's not. He can't.
Yeah, he's out, isn't he?
Play.
The Croc's quite a lot on these. Lambert crocked as well because Gallagher played last match.
I think Lambert came on late. I think I'm not sure.
Right.
I think he scored last minute.
He might be fit then. Can I look at Wanyama again? And we'll, should we say that should we abort him or not? He's a bit of a destroyer. I think he's been all right actually. But other than that, Morgan Schneiderlin, I think is quite a good player, and he would be a
definitely
steal. I think I bet you get him for 8 million, which is ridiculous when you think about the FIFA Fellaini.
Carl, how do we beat them?
How do we beat them? I think you've got to be cautious because they have got that pace. You've got Lallana, who's very tight with his play. He's very skillful as well. I think we've got to use a similar tactic as we did kind of 2 years ago. Last year, if you remember, when RVP scored a header late on. We've got to do them on set plays, etc., stuff like that. I think that's probably where we'll get a lot from Southampton, really.
Right, moving on to point 4, Ryan Giggs. We don't know what the future holds for the man, the manager, the legend that is Ryan Giggs. So from each of you, I would like a favourite memory, and you can't have his goal at Villa Park against Arsenal in the 1999 FA Cup semi-final replay. Jay?
A bit of a strange one, but a couple of seasons ago, he scored a cracker at Upton Park. I think he was like 38, rolling back the years. Everyone sort of thought, Giggs, is he going to get... I think that was his goal for that season as well.
Yeah.
There was already the thing of he scored in every season. And I know there's I could sit here all day talking about Ryan Giggs' memories from sort of 92, 93 onwards. But that for me, rolling back the years, getting that important goal, I think it was a match-winning goal. And it was
assist from Scholes.
Exactly, what more can you ask for? Scholes to Giggs, dinks his shoulder twice. Benny's it. We beat the Hammers, happy days. We win a title, I think, at the end of the season as well.
Carl?
Yeah, I agree. He obviously started his career before I was even born, so...
that makes me feel really old.
Nah, sorry, I apologise. But I think something that really struck with me was when he was giving his speech, when Fergie wasn't there, and he stepped up, he gave the speech, he addressed the crowd, he addressed the players, I think that really, like, how he spoke as well. He spoke with so much presence and power. It really stuck with me, that, even though it was only last night, but it made sense.
JB?
Similar to Carl, really. The things I've got in my head is the equalising goal at Old Trafford for Juventus '99, and that performance against Juventus again. Was it 2003? Where it just ripped him a new one. I'm gonna say his first press conference post Moyes, just because of the optimism that everyone felt lifted, that euphoric feeling. And after such a dark season on the David Moyes and Woodward and Cohen, whoever, let's not just blame David Moyes. Glazers are to blame as well. But yeah, I just felt so lifted. And maybe it's because it's more immediate memory. But yeah, that's mine.
Okay. Mine is, do you remember, I think it was a couple of years ago, I think it was Benfica, I'm sorry if it was Porto, where in the Champions League he scored an absolute screamer, like a proper rocket, which is something you don't often see Giggs do. Smashed it from about 20 yards. You remember that?
Can't remember that.
Did happen. Also, his pass to Van Persie at Upton Park a few years ago to keep us in the FA Cup. Now, moving back to Southampton, Carl, what do you think the score will be?
I think the score will be, I reckon 2-1. I think they'll score. I got the score right against Hull, so I'm going 2-1 to United.
Like you added that. Jay?
I'm going to go 3-2. I think there'll be quite a lot of goals. I think our defence will do its usual trick of conceding a couple, but I think we'll outscore them.
Okay. JB?
Yeah, I agree with Jay. Actually, I think they'll get a couple because they've got attacking injuries up top. Some creative players out. I think we're going to get one more than them. So 3-2.
Oh, I'm going to say 4-3. I don't know why. Why not? For no obvious reason. 4-3 United. I usually am wrong. I think it'll be 4-3 based on nothing in particular. Guys, thank you very much. Everyone, thank you for watching. Subscribe to Full Time Devils if you haven't already.